At Thanksgiving, my cousin joked, "Let's be thankful he's still single, less drama at the table." My aunt laughed and said, "He's married to his job." I just picked up my keys and said, "Enjoy the silence while it lasts." Yesterday, I made a move they'll never forget. So I've been the family punching bag for pretty much my entire adult life. Single, supposedly married to my job, and apparently that makes me fair game for everyone's jokes, especially my cousin Rhett, 33M, who never misses a chance to remind everyone how much better his life is than mine. Spoiler alert, his perfect life is about to crash and burn. For context, I, 31M, have always been the odd one out in my family. While Rhett got handed connections and opportunities through my uncle's friends, I actually had to work for everything. Not that my family notices or cares. Every gathering, it's the same script. Rhett shows off. Everyone worships him. And I'm the lonely loser they pity. This Thanksgiving was the breaking point. I showed up at my Aunt Shirley's house already dreading the next few hours. Hadn't even made it through the door when Rhett spotted me from the living room and started with his usual crap. Something about how I should try Tinder, since I clearly couldn't find someone on my own. Everyone laughed. I just nodded and went to dump my coat. The afternoon was the usual BS. My Aunt Shirley, 58F, kept asking if I was still at that same place, like I was stuck in some dead-end job, not understanding that stability doesn't equal failure. Meanwhile, Rhett kept talking about his new house, his promotion, his upcoming vacation to Bali. Kept casually dropping how much everything cost too. Classic Rhett move. Then came dinner. We're all sitting around this massive table, and my Uncle Brock, 59M, is doing his yearly what we're thankful for routine. Everyone's saying the usual, family, health, whatever. Then it gets to Rhett. He looks right at me, smirks, and says we should all be thankful I'm still single because it means less drama at the table. His exact words. My Aunt Shirley nearly spat out her wine laughing and added that I'm clearly married to my job anyway. Something inside me just snapped. I've taken their crap for years. Every holiday, every birthday, every random Sunday dinner. Always the punchline. Always the cautionary tale. Look at poor Lane. Successful, but alone. What a loser. I didn't yell, didn't make a scene. Just picked up my keys, looked at them, and said they should enjoy the silence while it lasts. The drive home was a blur. All I could think about was how Rhett's entire life is built on connections and bullshit. The guy fails upward. Always has. Got his first internship through my uncle. Got his current position because he plays golf with his boss. Meanwhile, he acts like he's some self-made success story. That night, I didn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling thinking about every smug look, every backhanded comment, every time my family treated me like I was less than because I wasn't following their life script. By morning, I had a plan. A 5-phase plan, actually. Because if there's one thing I'm good at, it's methodical execution. Phase 1, reconnaissance. I've spent the last 3 weeks quietly gathering intel. Social engineering is surprisingly easy when people already underestimate you. A few casual texts to cousins, some strategic questions to mutual friends, even reconnected with Emery, 29F, who used to work with Rhett before she left, because, surprise, he took credit for her work. Turns out, Rhett's perfect life is held together with duct tape and lies. That big promotion he wouldn't shut up about at Thanksgiving? He's actually on thin ice. That massive house? He's leveraged to the eyeballs with a mortgage he can barely afford. His Instagram perfect marriage? His wife was looking at apartments 3 months ago. Yesterday, I made my first move. Called in a favor from Genesis, 35M, who knows some people in Rhett's industry. Nothing illegal, just made sure certain information about Rhett's actual performance got to the right people. His big client presentation next week, let's just say I've ensured it won't go as smoothly as he expects. I also accidentally mentioned to my gossip-loving aunt that I saw Rhett having lunch with a woman who wasn't his wife. Totally innocent, probably a colleague, but planted the seed. Watching that family group chat blow up was better than Netflix. And I've started a dedicated savings account labeled Rhett's Downfall Fund. 10% of every paycheck goes to financing this revenge, already up to 4 digits. Money well spent, TBH. The beauty of my plan is that I'm not fabricating anything, just strategically revealing what's already there. Rhett built his life on a house of cards, and I'm just going to casually blow on it. Christmas is in 3 weeks. Rhett always uses the holiday to show off and one-up everyone. This year will be different. Phase 2 is already in motion. I'm not the same person who walked out of that Thanksgiving dinner. That guy was a doormat. This version of me is calculating exactly how much pressure it takes to make someone crack. My family thinks I'm the quiet one with no social life. They have no idea what I'm capable of when properly motivated. They pushed me for years, and now I'm pushing back. Rhett's about to learn that the quiet ones are the ones you should really worry about. When we finally snap, we don't just get mad, we get methodical. We'll update after Christmas, when Phase 2 is complete. The silence they've been enjoying? It's the calm before the storm. Update, holy shit, you guys. First off, thanks for all the DMs and comments on my last post. Didn't expect that to blow up. For those just tuning in, I'm the guy whose family has spent years treating him like garbage for being single, culminating in a Thanksgiving where my cousin Rhett and Aunt Shirley pushed me over the edge. Spoiler alert, Phase 2 is complete, and the results are chef's kiss, asterisk. It's been about 4 weeks since Christmas, and I've been methodically executing my revenge protocol against Rhett. Remember how I mentioned he was on thin ice at work? Well, the ice just got a whole lot thinner. For those asking if I felt bad over the holidays, nope. Christmas was actually the perfect battlefield. Rhett showed up with his usual swagger, designer watch gleaming as he handed out presents that were clearly meant to demonstrate his financial superiority. Everyone was fawning over him as usual. I just sat back, smiled, and documented everything on my notes app. Every brag, every exaggeration, every lie. My approach has been simple but effective. Death by 1,000 cuts. Cut #1. The LinkedIn strategy. I connected with 3 of Rhett's colleagues through mutual connections. Nothing suspicious, just normal networking. Over coffee, which I paid for, worth every penny, I casually mentioned being Rhett's cousin. That opened the floodgates. Turns out, Rhett's been taking credit for team projects for years. One guy literally rolled his eyes when I mentioned Rhett's leadership skills that my family can't shut up about. Cut #2. The anonymous email. Using a burner account, I sent Rhett's boss screenshots of Rhett's Instagram stories from work trips where he was clearly poolside with a cocktail during conference calls. Not illegal, just deliciously petty. Cut #3. Emery. Remember her? Rhett's former colleague who left because he stole her work? We've been hanging out regularly now. She introduced me to 5 more people who have Rhett stories. The network of Rhett haters is honestly impressive and useful. The financial pressure is mounting too. After getting some intel about Rhett's spending habits, thanks Emery, I created a situation where he felt compelled to one-up me. At a family dinner in January, I casually mentioned looking at vacation properties. Nothing fancy, just a small cabin upstate. Predictably, within 2 weeks, Rhett announced he put a deposit down on a timeshare in Florida, a timeshare he absolutely cannot afford. My aunt texted me yesterday, worried because Rhett's wife called her crying about their credit card debt. Apparently, they're maxed out on 3 cards. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. The psychological warfare has been equally satisfying. I've been planting small seeds of doubt everywhere. Mentioned to my uncle that I saw a job listing that sounded exactly like Rhett's position. Asked my cousin if Rhett seemed stressed lately because he looked really tired in his Facebook photos. Told my mom I heard rumors of restructuring at Rhett's workplace. The beauty is in the subtlety. I'm not spreading actual lies, just connecting dots and asking innocent questions that create maximum anxiety. Last week was the tipping point. Rhett was supposed to lead a major presentation for a potential client, the one I sabotaged through Genesis. 2 hours before, I sent him a text saying I heard through industry connections that the client's main decision-maker used to work with someone Rhett had publicly criticized on Twitter last year. Not true, but Rhett panic-deleted his entire Twitter account right before the most important presentation of his career. According to Emery's friend who was in the room, Rhett was a sweaty, stammering mess, kept checking his phone, lost his place multiple times. The client went with a competitor. Yesterday, Rhett called me for the first time in years, sounded desperate, asked if I knew anyone hiring, said things were complicated at work. I feigned sympathy while adding another note to my revenge document. The family dynamics are shifting too. My Aunt Shirley called last week, didn't mention Rhett once, actually asked about my life instead. Amazing what happens when the golden child starts to tarnish. I'm not even halfway through my plan, and Rhett's already unraveling. His perfect facade is cracking. He showed up at my parents' house unannounced last weekend, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Kept checking his phone, jumping every time it buzzed. My mom later told me he asked to borrow money. LMAO. There have been moments of doubt. Last night I was up at 3 a.m. wondering if I'm taking this too far. Then I remembered every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every family gathering where I was the punchline, every time Rhett used my single status as ammunition, every condescending comment from my Aunt Shirley. The doubt evaporated pretty quickly. Phase 3 begins tomorrow. I've hired a graphic designer from Fiverr to create fake internal document templates that look legitimate. Nothing illegal, just enough to make Rhett paranoid about a non-existent company restructuring. The email will come from a generic HR-sounding address and mention position evaluation and performance concerns. I've also arranged for 3 recruitment agencies to call Rhett about his recently updated resume that he definitely didn't update, just enough to make his boss wonder if he's looking elsewhere. Valentine's Day is coming up, and word in the family is that Rhett and his wife are taking a break. Couldn't have planned that timing better myself. For those concerned, I might get caught. I'm careful. Everything is either anonymous or can be explained away as coincidence or misunderstanding. I'm not breaking any laws, just strategically applying pressure where Rhett's life was already fragile. The best part? He has absolutely no idea I'm behind any of this. In his mind, I'm still the pathetic single cousin who stormed out at Thanksgiving. He even sent me a half-assed apology text, probably hoping I'd help him find a job. Left him on read. I used to think revenge would feel hollow. It doesn't. It feels like justice, like balance being restored to a universe where Rhett always won and I always lost. My Aunt Shirley texted yesterday asking if I'm coming to Easter dinner. Said they value family togetherness suddenly. Funny how that works. I replied that I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Phase 3 should be complete by then. We'll update you all after Easter when the real fireworks begin, because what I've done so far, that's just the warm-up act. Update 2. It's done. First, thanks to everyone who's been following this saga. Your comments kept me going during moments of doubt. For those just joining, my cousin Rhett spent years mocking me for being single at family gatherings. After a particularly humiliating Thanksgiving, I decided enough was enough and launched a methodical revenge plan. Phases 1 and 2 were about gathering intel and applying pressure. Phase 3 was the end game, and holy shit, did it deliver! Easter Sunday was the setting for the final act. I arrived at my Aunt Shirley's house exactly 19 minutes late, just enough for everyone to be seated, but not enough to seem deliberately rude. The tension was immediately noticeable. My aunt looked tired. My Uncle Brock kept checking his phone. And Rhett? Rhett looked like a man drowning. His designer clothes had been replaced with an off-the-rack button-up that still had the crease marks from packaging. His Apple Watch was conspicuously absent, dark circles under his eyes, hair unwashed. The golden boy had tarnished considerably since Christmas. I played it cool, asked normal questions. How's work? How's the marriage? Each one hitting like a precision missile because I knew exactly how bad both situations had become. See, Phase 3 wasn't just about continuing the pressure. It was about creating the perfect storm. And storms need the right conditions. Condition 1, financial pressure. Those fake recruitment calls I arranged, they worked better than expected. Rhett's boss thought he was job hunting and put him on a performance improvement plan. Meanwhile, the anonymous email about his poolside workday Instagram stories led to an expense audit. Rhett had been inflating his business expenses for years, not enough to be criminal, just enough to be fireable. Condition 2. Relationship stress. Remember the taking a break situation with his wife? I may have anonymously sent her screenshots of Rhett's Tinder profile that I created using old Facebook photos, not catfishing anyone, just creating evidence of something that looked real enough to cause doubt. Condition 3. Family suspicion. For weeks, I'd been selectively sharing concerns about Rhett with different family members. To my mom, wasn't it weird how Rhett couldn't afford dinner last time? To my uncle, had he noticed Rhett's strange behavior on social media? Small comments, planted like seeds. By Easter, those seeds had grown into a forest of doubt. The meal started normally enough. My aunt's overcooked ham, my uncle's boring stories, the usual family stuff. Then Rhett's phone rang. He stepped outside to take it, came back looking like he'd seen a ghost. I knew exactly who it was. Emery's friend from his office, calling with urgent questions about a project Rhett had claimed credit for but couldn't actually explain. What happened next was almost too perfect. My aunt asked Rhett about his new project, the one he'd bragged about leading at Christmas. He mumbled something vague. I innocently mentioned that my friend, Emery, had told me his team was struggling with some issues. Was everything okay? The dam broke. Rhett tried to maintain his facade, but it was like watching someone try to plug holes in a sinking ship with their fingers. Every detail he gave contradicted something he'd said previously. My aunt and uncle exchanged looks. The golden child narrative was crumbling in real time. Then my uncle's phone pinged. An email from an anonymous account with documented evidence of every lie Rhett had told the family over the past 3 years. His promotion that was actually a lateral move. His bonus that never existed. His award-winning project that was actually his team's work. His house that was mortgaged to the hilt and now in pre-foreclosure. I watched my uncle's face as he scrolled through the attachment. 3 decades of blind faith in his son's success story evaporating in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. The timing couldn't have been more perfect, almost like someone had planned it. I had. Rhett's face went from a confused to panic as my uncle started asking pointed questions. Why was there a foreclosure notice? Why had his wife moved out 2 weeks ago? Why had 3 different people emailed about his unprofessional behavior? Each question hit like a psychological depth charge. Rhett started sweating, stammering about complicated situations and temporary setbacks. My Aunt Shirley, who for years had used Rhett as Exhibit A in her Perfect Son showcase, looked physically ill as the reality sank in. Her golden child was actually a fraud, a well-dressed, smooth-talking fraud who'd been living on borrowed money and stolen credit. Just when I thought it couldn't get better, the doorbell rang. It was Emery, right on schedule. I'd invited her as my new friend without telling the family our connection to Rhett. The look on Rhett's face when she walked in was worth every minute of planning. Pure terror. Because Emery wasn't just a former colleague, she was now on the ethics committee that was reviewing his expense reports and project claims. What followed was 2 hours of the most deliciously awkward family dinner in history. My aunt trying to maintain appearance, my uncle silently fuming, Rhett panic texting under the table, and me enjoying every bite of that dry ham like it was a 5-star meal. By dessert, Rhett couldn't take it anymore. He made some excuse about feeling sick and tried to leave. That's when I deployed the final move. I casually mentioned I'd seen an interesting post on LinkedIn that morning from Rhett's boss, something about integrity in the workplace and consequences for misrepresentation. Asked if everything was okay with his job. Rhett cracked, right there, between the apple pie and the coffee. Admitted he'd been fired 3 days ago, admitted the house was in foreclosure, admitted his wife had left because of the financial stress, admitted everything. My aunt started crying. My uncle just stared at his son like he was seeing a stranger. The perfect family portrait, shattered beyond repair. And me? I just sat there, sipping my coffee, feeling a satisfaction so deep it bordered on transcendent. As Rhett stumbled out the door, shoulders hunched in defeat, I remembered that Thanksgiving, his smug smile as he joked about my single status, my aunt's laughter, the way they all thought my life was somehow less valuable because I didn't follow their script. Yesterday, as I drove home from that Easter massacre, I realized something. For years, I thought I wanted their approval. What I actually wanted was justice. And revenge, it turns out, tastes better than validation ever could. Phase 3 is complete. Rhett is unemployed, soon to be homeless, single, and disgraced. My aunt and uncle are facing the reality that their perfect son was a house of cards, and the family dynamics irreparably altered. Some might call it extreme. I call it karma. For those asking if I feel bad, nope, not even a little. Years of being the family punching bag created this version of me. They should have been nicer to him when they had the chance. Will I stay in touch with the family? Probably, but on my terms now. The power dynamic has shifted permanently. I'm no longer the pitiful single cousin. I'm the one who exposed the truth they were too blind to see. As for Emery, we're going to Vegas next weekend. Turns out we have a lot in common beyond our mutual hatred of Rhett. Might be something there, might not. Either way, I'm good. To the Redditors who said I was overreacting in my first post, how's that take aging for you? Revenge isn't a dish best served cold. It's best served meticulously, with precision timing and zero remorse. Debugging family issues, complete. System restored to factory settings. And this time, I'm the admin.